Do you see every FIR being registered? Have you seen a single FIR registered against the Prime Minister of India in relation to offences committed during the course of the election campaign? I don't even know if you can call them right-wing, you can call them sycophants. Issues go beyond women's issues, and women should get involved with these issues, otherwise there is no salvation for them. If women are oppressed, everyone in this country is oppressed. If you cannot guarantee an impartial criminal justice system, you should end all criminal law, scrap all criminal laws. We don't want a criminal justice system. We're happy living without it. Get up, stand up for your rights. That is the only piece of advice that I can give you, okay?
Ma'am, once you have quoted Delhi High Court's observation that it would be a great danger to introduce constitutional law into family law. So, most of the laws are closed without leaving a space for the constitutional law. So, how can we overcome this situation?
Yeah. See, overcoming is a journey. We all know that, you know that, I know that. And I would say it has been overcome because I would say it reflects the ignorance of the judge. Because even while the judge was writing that judgment, it had been overcome. You know that we have section 498A in the Indian Penal Code. What is that? It is the intervention of criminal law in the family. So that distinction between private and public has been destroyed long ago. The law will not tolerate a private individual, namely a husband, being violent towards his wife. After that, in 2005, we got the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, where not only women who are married, but also those who are in live-in relationships get protection from violence. So that theory that constitutional law cannot enter the home has been demolished long back. It is only the last nail in the coffin that has to be put, and that is the law relating to restitution of conjugal rights is under challenge in the Supreme Court of India. And yesterday also I was telling the student, Rukma Bai's case, more than 1 century ago, she refused to go and live with her husband. She said, I will not live with a husband when the marriage has taken place at a time when I was 11 years old and I was incapable of giving consent to the marriage. This is the kind of action you asked, what do we need to get over these issues? This is what you need to get over these issues, that one person can make a difference, and that difference can continue for over a century.
Ma'am, KPS Gill's case was one of the first cases in India where a top-level, powerful IPS officer was successfully prosecuted for sexual harassment. Can you just explain the experience in conducting that case?
Are you referring to Rupan Del Bajaj?
Rupan.
Yeah. See, I feel that Rupan Del Bajaj was an extraordinary woman. Now, why was she an extraordinary woman? She was an extraordinary woman because she withstood media hatred.
Yes.
Media unleashed a tirade of hatred against her, saying that Mr. KPS Gill was a hero of this country. He was a hero because he ended terrorism in Punjab. He was a hero because he indulged in extrajudicial killings. But the level of hatred against her was so strong that not a single day would pass when there was not an editorial against her in daily newspapers, condemning her for taking Mr. KPS Gill to court. But she withstood all that. Now, because she withstood all that, it gave me strength. It gave me the power to carry on the case. And after the Supreme Court reversed the judgment of the High Court, quashing the FIR, I personally went to the Magistrates Court in Chandigarh to argue this case, to cross-examine the witnesses who came against her. And it might surprise you to know that one of the witnesses who came into the witness box against her was the then governor of Punjab, prominent member of the Congress party at that time. It is rumored that he was responsible for advising Mrs. Gandhi to declare the emergency. a lawyer by profession, but at that time a governor. And he came to the witness box. When he came, he was no longer governor, but he came to give evidence in favor of Mr. KPS Gill. And he came, all this beautiful black coat. And I was just telling my friends that hallmark of all these lawyers, they will come to court with Mont Blanc pens in their pockets. I don't know whether you see it in the Kerala High Court, but I see it every day in the Supreme Court. And I had to cross-examine him. And as I have been saying, my litigation strategy is always direct. I can get my answers in cross-examination in 1 minute. I don't have to prolong my cross-examination. And I asked him only one question. Mr. Governor, is it true that you have issued a warning to KPS Gill not to drink in public? He said, yes, it is true. Why did he say it is true? Because it was there on paper. It was in black and white. And we had the document in our possession. I said, no further questions. That's all. And of course, the magistrate had no choice but to convict. But of course, the magistrate convicted for 3 months. Mr. Gill appealed the case to the Sessions Court. Now, the Sessions Court judge was a very interesting man, listened very patiently, did everything. He was unable to reverse the conviction, obviously, because it was a very sound conviction. So what he did, he upheld the conviction and he said, I am suspending the sentence, the man will be on probation. All right, the man was on probation, but the conviction was upheld. Mrs. Bajaj did not appeal the order. He did. He went to the High Court. He came to the Supreme Court. And the conviction was upheld. So Mrs. Bajaj said, I'm completely satisfied by the fact that there is a conviction. There's an acknowledgement of the fact that I was sexually harassed. Okay? And of course, others felt that he got away because he was under suspension. But I also thought that the declaration that he had committed this sexual harassment was an important one. And in that sense, Mrs. Rupan Bajaj, who incidentally she lives in Chandigarh, and I'm still very close to her. We meet often and we communicate with each other very often. She definitely is a pioneer in the resistance to sexism. And once when I met her, I had asked her, why was this case so important to you? And she said, look, I am in a position where I'm commanding a force of 1,000 people who work under me. If I allow this to go, then every chaprasi in my institute will feel that I can also do this to her. So she really stood up for her rights, and it was really a beautiful experience for me. I enjoyed it very much.
Ma'am, your involvement in the Bilkis Bano case was vital. You mentioned that by sending the Bilkis Bano convicts back to jail, Supreme Court reasserted its lost power. Could you share more about that situation?
See, I have been feeling for a long time that the Supreme Court has renounced its power of judicial review by taking a hands-off attitude to all the illegal actions of the executive of the day. There is a stream of literature which says that whenever the executive is very strong, judiciaries become weak. Now, I don't subscribe to this theory because I think it could well be the opposite, that when the executive is very strong, the judiciary is the only institution that can control a strong executive, apart from movements by public. So we have been noticing a downward trend in the Supreme Court, hands-off attitude to anything the government does, some sort of a theory that, we have a benevolent state, and the benevolent state will do everything in our favor. I remember the comment of the late Vaivy Chandrachud, who was the father of the present Chief Justice in the ADM Jabalpur case, where he said, I have a diamond bright, diamond heart hope that the state will treat its citizens like children, or something to that effect. Now, that attitude of a judge is renouncing the judicial role. So that is why when Justice Nagarath and Justice Bhuyan in the Bilkis Bano case, they said no, nothing doing. This act of the executive is wrong, and mind you, they had a very uphill task because there was a division bench judgment of 2 judges of the Supreme Court which had actually accepted the petition filed by these people. And in spite of that, they held that that judgment was per incurium. I had argued that it was per incurium, and they directed that these people should go back to prison. And after that, many review petitions were filed. Some convict says, I want time to go and do my harvesting. Somebody else says, my father is sick. Someone else said something else. And Justice Nagaratna and Justice Bhuyan said, nothing doing. You will go back to prison on the date appointed for you. Which is why I made that comment in that article that the Supreme Court regained its lost power.
Ma'am, you have observed that when it comes to criminal laws, it was following the Victorian morality. And now the laws have changed, including its names. So, ma'am, do you think that there is a change in the point of view of the morality in the current laws?
Unfortunately, no. But I think my comment was probably made in the context of laws relating to marital rape. And as you know, the Delhi High Court has given a split decision. One of the judges held that the law is unconstitutional, and the other one said there is nothing unconstitutional about it. The matter is pending in the Supreme Court. But interestingly, I have a case which arose from Karnataka, where a judge of the Karnataka High Court held that charges will be framed against a husband for rape at the instance of his wife. And it was an amazing, bold step on the part of the judge, where he interpreted the law to mean the law does not give the husband the right to be violent, have violent sex with his wife. And husband has come up in appeal before the Supreme Court. I'll be representing the lady. And I am also arguing that even under the existing law, if you read it carefully, you will find that a husband can be prosecuted for rape by his wife in relation to the kind of brutal sex that was indulged in that case. So that is Victorian morality for you, black and white in the law, that, a husband can't rape his wife.
The executive claims that the Uniform Civil Code is meant to end the discrimination against women. But as when we check this new criminal laws, we can find that marital rape is not an offense. So, does this show that they are least bothered or concerned about the rights or issues of women?
It does. Given that there was so much debate about it, given that at least one judge of the High Court has held it's unconstitutional, it was time for the legislature to exclude the exception 2 to section 375 from the Indian Penal Code, which they haven't done. But apart from that, they have introduced provisions which go back to your question, Avinash Kumar, which will enable extension of remand for indefinite periods of time, so long as there's no 15-day period exceeded. You can remand for 2 days, then let the person out, then arrest again, then let the person out. All this to defeat the whole question of default bail. So the laws are, ma'am, it's not just a question of draconian. I think it's time for the women's movement to stop thinking sectorally and think constitutionally. If women are oppressed, everyone in this country is oppressed. It's not just women. So there is a direct attack on civil liberties. It goes back again to the question, how do you attack civil liberties? What are the methods that are being used to attack civil liberties? And one of them is this discretion to prosecute or not to prosecute. It's so dangerous, I cannot tell you. Like, you have a case called Lalita Kumari, which says every FIR should be registered. But do you see every FIR being registered? Have you seen a single FIR registered against the Prime Minister of India in relation to offences committed during the course of the election campaign? Not one. So, have you seen an FIR registered against the person who said, a minister who said, Salo ko goli maro? Not one. What is that? It is impunity impunity for the people you choose to grant impunity, and as opposed to that, prosecution of your dissenters, of your opponents. So the issues go beyond women's issues, and women should get involved with these issues, otherwise there is no salvation for them. As far as the approach of the ruling party and the Hindutva forces towards women is concerned, yes, women are fine, so long as they know what is their place, and their place is subordinate to that of men, it is subordinate to that of their husbands. Yes, you wear your Mangal Sutra, you put your tika. I have seen articles which say women who don't wear sindoor are not women. You know, they are disrespectful to their husbands. Is that the kind of woman you want to be? It's not the kind of woman I want to be.
As far as our democracy is concerned, last 10 years will be regarded as the worst period after the national emergency declared by Ms. Indira Gandhi. The national investigative agencies are usually like anything but the agents of the ruling dispensation. How do you evaluate the response from the Supreme Court on that kind of anti-democratic responses from the national investigative agencies?
See, so as I said before, I'm disappointed in the Supreme Court. The judgment of Justice Kanvilkar when PMLA was challenged will go down in history. Actually, we used to say ADM Jabalpur. But you know what? Now there is more than one ADM Jabalpur. There are many ADM Jabalpurs. Okay. And one of them is the judgment of Justice Kanvilkar in the PMLA case. So, how do I evaluate their response? It is highly disappointing. And in answer to the very first question, I said that, see, you're talking about the last decade. And I'm saying the issues of the coming decade are going to be life and liberty. If you cannot guarantee an impartial criminal justice system, you should end all criminal law, scrap all criminal laws. If you can't guarantee fair investigation, if you can't guarantee decent conditions of incarceration, if you can't guarantee that the guilty are prosecuted, not the innocent, then the criminal justice system has no business to exist. We don't want a criminal justice system. We're happy living without it. Otherwise, you make these guarantees before you can even launch a prosecution or not launch a prosecution. You look what they did to Tista Settlewan. Look at it. What was her crime? Nothing. Except that she took Zakia Jafri's case to court. You may win a case, you may lose a case. But does the petitioner then need to be prosecuted? This is what's going on in this country. It's up to you young people to decide, is this justice? It is not.
Ma'am, to add with that, there has been an allegation that the certain kind of cases are being allotted to select judges. As we have witnessed, the four senior most judges held a press conference alleging that the certain cases has been allotted to a particular judge. Do you, ma'am, do you believe that is what we call the bench fixing is possible in Supreme Court?
See, let us not talk about that press conference, because at least one of the judges in that press conference was accused of sexual harassment and has now become a Rajya Sabha MP. At the nomination of the ruling party. But the issue continues, and yes, you have noticed people withdrawing their petitions from the Supreme Court for bail. Why? Why? Because they feel this particular judge will not give us bail. Okay, so the ideological polarization has reached the Supreme Court of India. Now, what should be the role of the master of the roster is a different issue. What I feel is cases are being assigned according to who is the petitioner before particular courts. And that is wrong. It's completely wrong. There has been sufficient criticism of that, but when it will change is anybody's guess.
Ma'am, Supreme Court restrained the Gujarat police from arresting two journalists, that is Ravi Nair and Anand Bangule. You have represented them in the Supreme Court. What is the experience of that? Can you please share that?
See, it was a very unusual case because they had written an article about Adani and the manner in which he had made his overseas investments. Now, the reason why we approached the Supreme Court under Article 32 is because there was a summons from Gujarat police to the residents of Delhi to go to Gujarat and attend to the investigation. Now, and they said we want to make a preliminary inquiry. So two issues were raised in that petition. One is, there is the question of preliminary inquiry when it comes to an FIR. If you want to register an FIR, you may register an FIR. We'll see how to deal with it. But why are you calling me for a preliminary inquiry? That was one issue. And the other was that Gujarat police have no jurisdiction to summon somebody from Delhi. The summons did not come from Delhi police, they came from Gujarat police. I don't want to talk too much about this case because it is pending in the Supreme Court. But for the moment, there is a stay of the Supreme Court restraining Gujarat police from summoning them to Gujarat. We have to wait and see what is the outcome of the case.
As you always say, independent bar is the precondition for an independent judiciary. We know today the right wing is dividing the society. Are they successful in dividing the bar also? I'm asking this question in the context of that 600 lawyers, letter by the 600 lawyers. Are we successful?
Yeah, I get your question. But much water has flown under the bridge after the 600 lawyers. You do know that the leader of those 600 lawyers, who was not just Harish Salve, but Atish Agarwal, who was the president of the bar, has been defeated in an election to the Supreme Court Bar Association. Mr. Kapil Sibal has got the position of president over there. So, in a sense, that gives you the answer that the 600 letter writers were just bogus letter writers. They were, I don't even know if you can call them right wing, you can call them sycophants. And the main point that I wanted to make was that without the independence of the bar, there can be no independence of the judiciary, none at all. Who is going to stop the executive from approaching the judges? It is only lawyers. No one else can stop. Every time the executive approaches the judges, somewhere the lawyers are complicit. And these lawyers could be the law officers of the government of India, they could be public prosecutors, they could be anybody. They could be private lawyers, anybody. There is a certain complicity between the bar and the bench. That complicity has to stop. What you need more than independence of the judiciary, you need the independence of the bar. So, lawyers are very important people. They are very influential people. They are very well-read people. They are very knowledgeable people. And they have to play this role of insulating the judiciary from all external forces.
Ma'am, I was so thrilled hearing from you that walk as if you own the court. That comment itself I'll remember throughout my life. At the same time, ma'am, being a woman lawyer, I'm a junior, I just got enrolled in the year of 2022. And I had a personal experience that when I was in search for an office here in Kerala, in the High Court of the Kerala, so I had gone through a very personal shocking experience that one of the persons who were recommending me a senior office, so I got a specific information that I have to get into the office, so I have to go and meet the senior person so that there is a vacancy. So I approached the senior lawyer and I asked that such and such person has sent me and there is a vacancy, so I would like to join the firm. So suddenly the reaction from the senior was that, I didn't notice that that was a girl. I just need a male lawyer. So I was just shocked. I asked, sir, why do you require a male lawyer? Is there any other criteria that which I can't meet? Anything regarding the time or the draft or anything? Then the senior said that no, nothing like that. In my office, I don't take male lawyers, female lawyers. So that is the only reason. For years, and I'm not doing so, and even I have no plans to do so. So I was so shocked, and then I started inquiring about the same. And I have found that in many senior offices or established officers, they are not taking any female lawyers to work with them. So, ma'am, and I was very shocked and agreed by the same. I had written a letter to the Honorable Chief Justice of India regarding the same in the month of June 2023. And even after 2 months, I have resent the letter to take up this matter and speak something about this. But nothing had happened. And still it's going on in the same way. So meeting you in person here and the saying you hearing you saying that walk into the court as if you want it, but how can we own it, ma'am, if we can't get a chance to practice there?
Ma'am, yes, your story is important. It's very important. And don't worry about the fact that the Chief Justice has not replied to your letters. Take it from me, he doesn't reply to my letters also. You mentioned a few letters. You mentioned letters that I have written. But he reads them. Okay? So, you keep writing those letters. Don't stop writing letters. Okay? Letters are a form of protest also. But to answer your question, let me tell you that I did not formally enter anybody's office as a junior. Yes, many people contributed to my success. I'm not saying that they did not contribute to my success. I did have people with whom I worked, okay, to pick up the law, or at least to observe and to see how they are doing their law. But what made me the person I am is because I decided to work for those who needed my services. Okay? So you don't have to wait for an office to join. Okay? I'm saying personally. The issue will continue. You have to continue raising this issue that how dare you not employ a woman, and we'll discuss that in a minute. But to begin with, I worked for the people who needed lawyers. Okay, so women needed lawyers, hawkers needed lawyers, homeless people needed lawyers, contract labor needed lawyers, migrant workers needed lawyers, and I continue to work for them till this day. And I tell you one thing, madam, when it comes to payment of fees, it is the poor who will pay you your fees. You will have a rich client who will take your services and not pay your fees to you, okay?
Yes.
So you do not have to bother yourself with people who refuse to employ you as a lawyer. You fight that case because you'll be fighting on behalf of many other women, not only for yourself. But then, important and interesting question is, why do these men not want to take women lawyers? Have you ever thought about it? Did you get an answer? Now, one lawyer actually told me on my face that the reason I don't take junior lawyers, women lawyers, is because I am worried that they will make false claims of sexual harassment against me. Now, I don't know whether this lawyer who didn't engage you doesn't engage women for the same reason, or whether it's a more generalized bias against women that, oh, women are useless, okay? I also advise a lot of women to start training themselves to become judges and get onto the bench. But that's a very personal decision. One can't compel anybody to become a judge. I never wanted to become a judge. But your experience is not unusual. It is not. But it's not an insurmountable difficulty at all. You have already got over it by talking about it.
Thank you.
I also feel that, yes, you should make efforts to structurally change this issue. Apart from writing to the Chief Justice, write to the Bar Council of India, and perhaps there should be a rule that there will be mandatory, employment of juniors in the office of seniors without any discrimination based on sex. Ma'am, the problem here is also a legal problem. And the legal problem is our fundamental rights are enforceable against the state, whereas here you're dealing with an individual. But it's an issue that we should raise for the future.
Ma'am, to end with, in this current political landscape, what is the one piece of advice you the young lawyers of the bar?
Okay, I think only there's a song of Bob Marley which I have always taken as my song. It's my song. Get up, stand up for your rights. That is the only piece of advice that I can give you, okay? Listen to music and get your inspiration from lyrics of protest artists. There are many of them. You will get the answers to your question. But yes, do get up, stand up for your rights. That's why I told her, walk into the courtroom as if you own it. I do that. I do that even, you don't think I'm accepted in the courtroom today. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm considered a nuisance. But I do walk into the courtroom as if I own it.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.